Violent protests breaking out across Hong Kong with one 18-year-old demonstrator shot in the chest by police. Now, this as China is celebrating its National Day, marking 70 years of Communist Party rule. Joining us to discuss all of this is today's panel, Oliver Pursche, Chief Market Strategist at Bruderman Asset Management, along with Yahoo Finance's Brian Cheung. And here to weigh in on what's happening in China is Aikiko Fujita. And Aikiko, at the Beijing celebration, Xi Jinping said that no force can shake this great nation. That's a direct message to us, right?
Well, to the U.S. as well as what's happening in Hong Kong, right? I mean, this was really China's opportunity, Beijing's opportunity to show its muscle, to say, look, we have turned the corner since 70 years of communist rule. And we saw a grand parade out there, 15,000 Chinese troops, as well as unveiling of a new intercontinental ballistic missile that could be aimed directly at the U.S. But let's talk about what happened in Hong Kong, because this was no coincidence. These protests were timed directly to sort of overshadow what's happening over in China. You pointed out that 18-year-old student that was shot in the chest. Local media reports saying that he was conscious on his way to the hospital. But I think this really does point to the fact that these protesters aren't backing down at any point, and there are still 5 demands, only one of which have been met, and they're going to continue to demonstrate until those demands are met, which is not very likely.
So what happens next? I mean, from investors, we've got to watch, but...
You've got to watch, but you kind of put it to the side and ignore it, because effectively, even though today it turned violence with shooting, nothing has changed with Hong Kong or China. And it continues to be a battle of the wills more than anything else right now. So from a global macro perspective, I don't think that's changed anything. It's the same story that we've been reading about for a month and a half or so now.
I think what you do want to look at now that this National Day has been celebrated and passed, this is always a sensitive time for China, and the White House actually did delay the increase in tariffs from 25 to 30% as a goodwill gesture to say, look, we're going to let you have your National Day, and then we'll come back to the table and discuss. So now that that day's out of the way, I think there are some developments that we may be able to look forward to on the trade front. Whether that will lead to a deal is a whole other question.
For instance, but you talk with business leaders in both Hong Kong and China. I mean, you had the interview with Huawei's CEO. Are you hearing anything from those people now that we're past October 1st and we're heading towards October 10th and the meeting here in Washington, D.C. between the two sides of breakthrough coming?
On the demonstrator front, on the trade front, you know, I think that after last week, what we heard from President Trump at the UN General Assembly, and then after hearing from Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who was in New York, I walked away being more skeptical than ever. And I think the business executives who were in the room to hear the foreign minister also felt that way, because what they made very clear is that, look, we are willing to extend a hand, but you, the U.S., or any government cannot come in and try to make us change our laws and our structure. And that is really at the root of what the U.S. is trying to accomplish on the trade front.
And I think that China is juggling a lot with the Hong Kong thing, too. I mean, we're not really any closer to a resolution between the Hong Kong violence and kind of the government in Hong Kong. I mean, actually, the optics of it were quite bad. You had Carrie Lam, who was the chief executive in Hong Kong, boarding a plane, an Air China plane, to the mainland to go, partake in the celebrations, as opposed to Cathay Pacific, which is the flag carrier of Hong Kong. And as she was boarding the plane, all these mainland Chinese were taking pictures of her, wanting to take selfies with her. So if you're a protester in Hong Kong and you're looking at the situation here, you're not thinking you're any closer to a resolution than you were 17 weeks ago. I mean, you still have Carrie Lam, who's not showing any indication that she would step aside as the chief executive, and if anything, showing that she wants to cozy up even further with mainland China. So China juggling that in addition to a trade negotiation that doesn't appear to be getting any closer. I mean, there's a lot going on for Xi Jinping and his team to kind of work through.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.